After my wife got an STD test following her friend's wedding, I confronted her. She finally confessed but said, "It didn't mean anything. There were no emotions attached about hooking up with a stripper." I left the house. Those words rang in my ears as I drove to my consultancy office that Sunday evening. 13 years of marriage, and this is how Renee chose to throw it all away. At 56, I thought I'd found my life partner, someone who understood the value of loyalty and commitment. Instead, I discovered she saw our marriage as disposable entertainment. Let me give you the context that makes this betrayal so much worse. I'm not just some heartbroken husband with no options. I built my financial consulting firm from nothing over the past 15 years, specializing in asset protection and divorce planning for high net worth individuals. My client base includes executives, business owners, and professionals who need sophisticated strategies to protect their wealth. I understand exactly how divorce courts work, what assets can be protected, and how to structure finances to minimize exposure. Renee had no idea about the full extent of my financial position. She knew I had a successful business, but I've always been conservative about discussing specific numbers. What she didn't know was that my firm generated over $400,000 annually, and I'd been quietly building a portfolio of protected assets for years. I also owned an ancestral property worth nearly $600,000 that would pass to me and my sister, completely separate from marital assets. More importantly, I had professional relationships that Renee couldn't even imagine. My divorce attorney, Marcus Webb, had been my friend since college and specialized in high-asset divorces. My investigator contact, Elena Vasquez, worked exclusively on infidelity cases. My financial advisor, Thomas Blake, helped me structure assets in ways that most people never consider. These weren't just service providers. They were strategic partners who understood complex financial warfare. But none of that compared to the emotional devastation I felt about my stepdaughter, Amanda. When I married Renee 13 years ago, Amanda was just 10 years old, escaping an abusive situation with her biological father. I didn't just adopt her legally, I became the father she'd never had. I paid for her private school education, her college tuition, her Manhattan apartment during internships. When she landed her executive position, I felt the same pride any father would feel watching his daughter succeed. Now, Renee had poisoned that relationship by telling Amanda I'd abandoned them. For some silly reason. Amanda's initial calls trying to reconcile Renee and me made it clear she had no idea what her mother had actually done. That manipulation alone made my blood boil more than the actual cheating. The discovery itself had been purely accidental. I'd been fighting flu symptoms and needed to consult a doctor online. Renee had a fitness app membership that included telehealth services, so I logged in using her email. When the verification code came to her phone, I grabbed it from the kitchen counter without thinking twice. After my consultation, I went to book a follow-up test through the same app. That's when I saw the history. An STD screening, ordered the week after she returned from her friend Lily's wedding. The timeline was perfect. She'd gone to this extravagant destination wedding, come home talking nonstop about what a gold digger her friend was for marrying a 70-year-old yacht owner, then immediately went to visit Amanda in Manhattan for a week. At the time, I thought she just wanted mother-daughter bonding time. Now I realized she was avoiding intimacy with me until she got her test results. The test came back negative, but the damage was done. When I confronted her that evening, Renee's first instinct was to lie, then deflect, then play victim. Classic cheater behavior that I'd seen destroy countless marriages in my professional work. She changed her app password immediately and acted like I was paranoid for even asking questions. But I wasn't some naive spouse stumbling through infidelity drama. I was a financial strategist who'd helped dozens of clients navigate exactly this situation. The moment I saw that test result, I started thinking 3 moves ahead. First, I called Marcus Webb. Even though it was Sunday evening, Marcus picked up immediately. That's the kind of relationship you build after 15 years of referring high-value clients to each other. I explained the situation in clinical terms. Wife exhibited cheating behavior, attempted cover-up, marriage likely over, need to protect assets immediately. Marcus's advice was swift and strategic. File a fault-based divorce, citing adultery, which in our state significantly impacts alimony calculations. Update my will immediately to remove Renee as beneficiary. Document everything. The STD test, the password changes, any attempts at deception. Most importantly, he said, don't let emotions drive decisions. Stay analytical and professional. David, Marcus told me, you've got significant advantages here. Your business is structured as an LLC with proper asset protection. The ancestral property is separate inheritance. Your retirement accounts are properly sheltered. If you play this smart, she walks away with minimal marital assets and no ongoing support obligations. Next, I contacted Thomas Blake, my financial advisor. Thomas had helped me structure my business specifically to protect against potential future liabilities, including divorce. My consulting fees flowed through multiple legal entities. My personal residence was properly homesteaded, and my investment portfolio was diversified across protected accounts. Even if Renee hired the most aggressive divorce attorney in the state, the math was on my side. The key, Thomas explained, is timing and documentation. Don't make any moves that look like you're hiding assets after the marriage deteriorated. Everything you've done was legitimate business planning, completed years before any marital problems. Any competent judge will see that. Elena Vasquez, my investigator contact, offered the most interesting perspective. David, this wedding scenario is classic. Destination events, lots of alcohol, people away from their normal lives. It's infidelity central. If she hooked up with someone at this wedding, there's probably evidence. Social media posts, hotel records, witness accounts. The question is whether you want to go nuclear or keep it simple. I decided to keep it simple initially. I had enough evidence to prove adultery without destroying everyone involved. But Elena's words stuck with me. If Renee wanted to play games, I had resources she couldn't imagine. The confrontation took 2 full days of psychological warfare. Renee tried every manipulation tactic in the book. Denial, anger, victim playing, gaslighting, promises to change. She accused me of violating her privacy by accessing her medical records. She claimed the STD test was routine preventive care. She insisted I was being paranoid and controlling. But I'd seen this playbook countless times in my professional work. Cheating spouses follow predictable patterns, and Renee was hitting every single note. When she finally broke down and admitted to hooking up with a stripper at the bachelorette party, I felt vindicated rather than devastated. My analytical assessment had been correct. Her attempt to minimize it with, "It didn't mean anything. There were no emotions attached," was the final insult. As if reducing our 13-year marriage to meaningless physical gratification somehow made the betrayal acceptable. That's when I walked out. I spent the next week living at my office, using the private bathroom and sleeping on the couch in my conference room. My employees noticed immediately. I'm usually impeccably dressed and professional, but I was wearing the same clothes and gym shirts from my car trunk. Rather than explain, I just told them I was dealing with a personal situation and needed some space. During that week, I finalized my strategic planning. Marcus had already filed preliminary paperwork to update my will and establish a separate business account for ongoing expenses. Thomas moved my liquid investments into protected accounts that would be harder for divorce proceedings to touch. Elena discreetly confirmed what I already knew. Lily's wedding had been at an exclusive Caribbean resort where privacy was guaranteed, but staff members were often willing to provide information for the right compensation. When I finally returned home, Renee was waiting with a full apology tour planned. She'd prepared my favorite dinner, bought an expensive bottle of wine, and had clearly rehearsed an emotional speech about how sorry she was and how we could rebuild trust together. It was almost insulting how predictable her approach was. "David, please," she begged. "It was one stupid mistake. I was drunk. I was caught up in the party atmosphere. It meant absolutely nothing. I love you. I love our life together. We can go to counseling. We can take a vacation, whatever you need." I looked at her calmly and said, "Renee, our relationship can never be the same. I need time to think about what I want to do next. During that time, I want to be left alone. I think you should move out temporarily and stay with your mother or Amanda." The transformation was immediate. Her apologetic demeanor vanished, replaced by indignation. "Move out? This is my home too, David. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to work through this like adults, whether you want to or not." That's when I realized Renee had no idea who she was dealing with. She still saw me as the accommodating husband who'd spent 13 years prioritizing her comfort and happiness. She had no concept that I might have the resources and determination to completely upend her comfortable lifestyle. I moved my belongings to the guest bedroom and established complete separation within our own home. No shared meals, no casual conversation, no acknowledgement of her presence unless absolutely necessary. It was psychological pressure designed to make her understand that her actions had permanent consequences. After a few days, she came to check on my decision. I told her directly, "I'm not willing to take you back. Even living in the same house isn't working for me. If you won't leave voluntarily, I'll be the one to move out." Her response revealed everything about her character. "I'm not leaving this house, David. You can't just throw away 13 years of marriage over one mistake. We're going to fix this whether you like it or not." So, I packed my essential belongings and left. I checked into a decent hotel initially, then found a short-term rental through one of my business contacts. A friend was relocating for 6 months and offered me his furnished one-bedroom condo at a reasonable rate. Within a week, I was established in my own space, free from Renee's manipulative attempts at reconciliation. The separation gave me clarity about what I really wanted. This wasn't just about punishing Renee for cheating. It was about recognizing that our fundamental values were incompatible. She viewed marriage as a convenient arrangement that could survive betrayal if she apologized convincingly enough. I viewed it as a sacred commitment that, once broken, couldn't be genuinely repaired. During this time, Renee made a critical error. She told Amanda that I'd abandoned them over some silly reason, painting herself as the victim of my unreasonable behavior. Amanda started calling me regularly, trying to mediate and convince me to give her mother another chance. Initially, I avoided giving Amanda the real details, hoping to preserve her relationship with her mother. But as weeks passed, I could sense Amanda becoming frustrated with my apparent stubbornness. Renee was clearly feeding her a narrative where I was the villain who destroyed our family over some minor disagreement. Finally, I decided Amanda deserved the truth. At 23, she was an adult who could handle difficult realities. I explained exactly what her mother had done: the cheating, the STD test, the attempted cover-up, the manipulation tactics. Amanda's reaction was immediate and furious. "Are you kidding me? She threw away everything you built together for some random hookup? And then she lied to me about why you left?" "Amanda," I told her, "I want you to know that nothing changes between us. You're my daughter regardless of what happens with your mother. I will never ask you to choose sides or cut contact with her. But I also won't pretend that what she did was acceptable." Amanda's support meant everything to me, but it also revealed how completely Renee had misjudged the situation. She assumed that controlling the narrative with her daughter would give her leverage over me. Instead, it backfired spectacularly, costing her Amanda's respect and support. Meanwhile, I was following Marcus's strategic advice to the letter. I documented every attempt Renee made to contact me, every manipulation tactic she used, every false statement she made to mutual friends or family. I maintained detailed records of my living expenses, business income, and asset positions. If this ended up in court, I wanted an overwhelming paper trail. The first major development came about 2 months later when I received an unexpected phone call from Lily, Renee's friend, whose wedding had triggered this entire disaster. "David, I need to tell you something important," Lily said. "Renee has been making advances on my husband, Richard. She's been messaging him on social media, sending inappropriate photos, trying to arrange private meetings." I almost laughed at the irony. Renee had spent months after the wedding talking about what a gold digger Lily was for marrying a wealthy older man. Now she was trying to steal that same wealthy older man for herself. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "We think about 3 or 4 months," Lily replied. "Richard showed me the messages recently. They've been escalating from flirty comments to explicit photos to actual meetup requests. She's been telling him that you two are separated, and she's looking for someone who can provide the lifestyle she deserves." The pieces clicked together immediately. Renee's securing her future strategy wasn't just about avoiding financial consequences from our divorce. She was actively planning to replace me with someone wealthier. The fact that it was her friend's husband made it even more calculating and cruel. Lily wanted my help planning revenge against Renee, but I declined getting directly involved. "Lily, I appreciate you telling me this, but I don't want to reopen wounds that have finally started healing. Handle your marriage situation however you think best, but leave me out of the drama. What happened next was like watching a soap opera unfold. Lily had been tracking Richard's phone and caught him and Renee together at an upscale hotel. According to Lily's account, when she confronted them, Renee had the audacity to call Lily a gold digger and claim that Richard deserved someone who actually loved him rather than his money. The confrontation escalated to physical violence, with hotel security calling police. Lily filed assault charges against Renee, and Richard sided with his wife over his mistress, probably because divorce would have cost him significantly more than supporting Lily's legal case against Renee. The hotel staff provided statements supporting Lily's version of events, likely because Lily had the financial resources to make their cooperation worthwhile. Renee was released with a fine and a restraining order, but her troubles were just beginning. Apparently, the humiliation of being publicly caught and legally charged wasn't enough to deter Renee's obsession with Richard's wealth. She actually snuck onto their property and vandalized Lily's car, not realizing that their garage was monitored by security cameras. That's when I got the call I never expected. Renee, begging me to bail her out of jail. "David, please, I have nobody else to call," she sobbed over the phone. "I know things have been bad between us, but I need help. I'll pay you back, I promise." Part of me wanted to hang up immediately, but curiosity got the better of me. I posted her bail and met her at the courthouse, where she looked absolutely defeated, disheveled, exhausted, and completely broken down. "What were you thinking, Renee?" I asked. "Breaking into someone's property to vandalize their car? This isn't some teenage prank. You're facing serious criminal charges." Her answer revealed just how far she'd fallen. "I was securing my future, David. You ditched me, so I had to find another way to be financially stable. Lily did the same thing. She targeted Richard until he divorced his first wife. I was just trying to do what she did." The delusion was staggering. Renee genuinely believed that destroying other people's marriages was a legitimate financial strategy, and she was upset that her attempts had been unsuccessful rather than ashamed of what she'd tried to do. I drove her home in silence, paid the bail amount she couldn't afford, and told her not to contact me again unless it was a genuine emergency. The woman I'd married 13 years ago was completely gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize and couldn't respect. A few days later, Renee called with a proposal that caught me completely off guard. She wanted a divorce. Not only did she want to end our marriage, but she had an extensive list of financial demands that showed she still had no idea how divorce law actually worked. She wanted the house, a year of maintenance payments, and a substantial alimony settlement. Her reasoning was that Richard had promised to divorce Lily and marry her once she was officially single, so she needed to expedite the legal process. I told Marcus about the conversation, and he started laughing immediately. "David, this is perfect. She's basically offering to divorce herself out of any significant assets because she thinks she has a better deal waiting. We should absolutely accommodate her request." But rather than rush into divorce proceedings, Marcus suggested a more strategic approach. "Let's delay just long enough to make sure her backup plan falls through. If she's counting on this other relationship for financial security, we want her to discover it's not real before she signs away her rights to marital assets." Meanwhile, I'd been keeping Lily informed about Renee's plans. When I told her that Renee believed Richard would divorce Lily to marry her, Lily's reaction was immediate and ruthless. "That lying bastard," she said. "He's been telling her whatever she wants to hear to keep getting sex, but he has no intention of leaving me. Divorce would cost him half his assets, and he's way too greedy for that. But Renee doesn't know that because she's been texting with me, not him." The revelation was stunning. Lily had been impersonating her own husband in text conversations with Renee, encouraging her to pursue the divorce and making promises that Richard had no intention of keeping. It was elaborate, devious, and absolutely brilliant revenge planning. "David," Lily continued, "I want to coordinate our efforts. You want to minimize what Renee gets from your divorce, and I want to make sure she gets nothing from my husband. We can help each other achieve both goals." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. I would stall divorce proceedings just long enough for Renee to realize that her backup financial plan was completely fictional. Meanwhile, Lily would continue encouraging Renee to pursue the divorce quickly, making her think that Richard was eager to marry her as soon as she was legally available. Renee fell for it completely. Over the next several weeks, she became increasingly impatient with my apparent slowness in finalizing divorce terms. She accused me of deliberately delaying because I wanted to punish her, not realizing that every day of delay was saving me thousands in potential settlements. When her patience finally ran out, I presented her with my actual divorce terms. She could keep her car, live in the house for 6 more months to find alternative arrangements, and that was it. No alimony, no maintenance payments, no division of business assets or retirement accounts. "David, this is ridiculous," she protested. "I'm entitled to half of everything we built together. I need financial security." "Renee," I replied calmly, "you're entitled to half of marital assets, not business assets I built independently. The house is mine, the retirement accounts are properly protected, and the business was structured specifically to avoid division and divorce. You can negotiate through attorneys if you want, but this is what I'm offering." The beauty of my position was that everything I'd done was completely legal and properly documented years before our marriage problems began. Any forensic accountant would conclude that my asset protection strategies were legitimate business planning, not attempts to hide marital property. Faced with the choice between accepting my terms or spending money she didn't have on attorneys who would ultimately reach the same conclusion, Renee signed the divorce papers. She was convinced that Richard would more than compensate for anything she lost in our divorce. That's when Lily and Richard revealed their deception. Renee received a phone call from Richard, except when she answered, it was Lily's voice on the other end. "Surprise, you husband-stealing slut," Lily said sweetly. "Did you really think Richard was going to divorce me for some desperate older woman with nothing to offer? You've been texting with me this entire time, making plans with me, getting played by me." According to Lily's account, Renee's reaction was complete hysteria. She'd signed away her financial security based on promises that were never real, made by someone who'd been planning her destruction from the beginning. When Renee came running back to me, desperately claiming that I'd conspired against her and manipulated her into accepting unfair divorce terms, I felt no sympathy whatsoever. "Renee," I told her, "I did nothing wrong by protecting my financial interests. You made your own decisions based on your own priorities. The fact that your backup plan was fictional doesn't make our divorce terms invalid." She threatened to sue me for fraud, to tell Amanda that I'd betrayed her, to contest the divorce settlement. But her threats were empty, and we both knew it. She'd voluntarily signed legally binding documents while represented by her own attorney. No court would overturn an agreement she'd made freely, even if her motivations were based on false assumptions about her romantic prospects. The final irony was Renee's demand that I help her find temporary housing because she couldn't afford rent on her own. The woman who'd cheated on me, lied to our daughter about me, and tried to steal her friend's husband was now asking me to subsidize her living expenses. "You have 6 months in the house," I reminded her. "Use that time to figure out your next steps. That's more generous than you deserved after what you did." Today, 3 months after our divorce was finalized, I'm living peacefully in my own space with complete financial security. My business is thriving, my relationship with Amanda is stronger than ever, and I'm completely free from Renee's manipulative behavior patterns. Renee, meanwhile, is facing eviction from my house in 3 months with no job skills, no savings, and no prospects for the wealthy lifestyle she thought she deserved. Her friendship with Lily is destroyed, her relationship with Amanda is severely damaged, and her reputation in our social circle is completely ruined. Was it revenge? Perhaps. But more importantly, it was justice. Someone who viewed marriage as disposable and loyalty as optional learned that actions have consequences, even if those consequences don't arrive immediately. I have no plans for serious relationships in the future, but I'm not bitter about that decision. I've learned that contentment doesn't require sharing your life with someone who doesn't respect it.